Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of the Up Your Brave live stream. This is Fab Friday. And if you haven't watched it before, on Fridays, we dive deep into a specific topic sometimes with a specific guest. So today I've got my good friend, Carin Newbold from Ginger Marketing. Hello, Carin.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am good. So today we're actually going to turn the tables. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to get Carin to run the show and really, just between you and me, bring out whatever goodness we've got on the topic of the week, which is building resilience. So if you missed the live stream on Tuesday, you can check out the replay. It was awesome. We talked a lot about building resilience. It's a massive topic right now. So Carin, I'm going to hand it over to you. How do you want to get started?
Well, hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, first of all, resilience is a huge topic, as Nat has said, but it's also something which doesn't have to be about overcoming huge issues in your life. Obviously, we all do overcome huge issues and big disappointments, but it's sometimes just those little tiny ongoing knocks that can really bring you down, cause depression, anxiety, mental health issues, but also just make you feel less than yourself. So clearly it's a matter of how you deal with those. And Nat had a little disappointment this week, which we were talking about and laughing about yesterday. So what was your disappointment this week, and how are you going to overcome it?
Well, this is kind of interesting. So for those of you that saw my post where I said I'm finally going to up my brave for 2 years. Like every time I see a woman with red hair, I'm like, oh my God, I love that hair. And I went and I upped my brave to get it dyed red, and I'm like, oh, it's a bit brown. So it's a bit brown. It actually looks redder in the video than it is in real life, but I wanted it more like that.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I'm going to. She's like, "Well, just come back. We can make it more red." I'm like, okay. So yeah, I might look a little bit different every time you see me. Who knows?
It's probably just going to get redder and redder as we go on. So
yeah.
Watch this space next week.
But I think it's interesting because you know how people say the way you do some things is the way you do everything.
Mm.
Well, I think even the way that I've reacted to this, I'm like, is it what I wanted? Like, was I clear with what I wanted? Yes. Like I showed her photos. He was, did I get what I wanted? No. Was I disappointed? Yes. Does she know that? Yes. Because straight away she was like, oh, just come back in a few days. And, rather than and that's the way I deal with most things. It's like, pick your battles. I'm not going to have a major tantrum. I'm not going to make a massive drama. Like I said, my son has no hair. So for me to make a big deal about my hair not being perfect, your view on what is a big deal kind of shifts. So thanks, Amy, and thanks, Judith, for joining us. Yeah, if you guys are watching us live, give us a little hello, give us a hey there, and let us know if you had any disappointments this week or lately.
I mean, as you say, it's all relative, and you having slightly less red hair than you wanted, and compared with no hair whatsoever, is pretty relative, really. Yeah. And I always think there's somebody worse off. That's you sometimes you just have to sort of take it on the chin, but equally. I thought it was really important that you went back and said, well, this is not what I wanted, and this is I am disappointed with it, and you haven't fulfilled what I wanted, what I came here looking for, because a lot of people just go away and say, oh, I didn't get what I wanted, I'm never going to go back there. Mm-hmm. And they don't give the business the opportunity to put it right or to actually understand. So how did she react?
Yeah, well, the business who shall remain nameless. So straight away, she wasn't apologetic because she didn't think it was bad. She's like, it's a gorgeous color. I'm like, it is a lovely color, but it's not what I wanted. So so that's fine. And I did use the word disappointed, but I'm happy to come back. So that's fine. I think you're right. I went for a business walk and talk this morning. Well, it was more of a talk, not so much of a walk, with Susan and Lena, who were my guests on Tuesday. And I really wanted them to meet in person. So it was super cool. So much synergy between their businesses. Anyway, I was telling them about, you and I are going to talk about complaining. And Susan said, complaining, it really comes down to who you're directing it to. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying is if you direct it back to where the source, then that's positive. And if you say it, you can say it in a naggy way, or you can say it in an empowering kind of way. Hey, you know what? It's not exactly what I wanted. Mm. I am actually disappointed, but I would love to accept your offer for me to come back for no charge, and to make it closer to what I wanted.
Yeah.
And
it's a great opportunity for that business as well, because otherwise you just go away, they lose your business, and in the future, in order to avoid double appointments and even longer with a client, presumably they're going to check a little bit more about, on the shade chart and make sure that it's right.
Yeah.
And, I have no choice. This is mine. So I'm
I
very
love
low
it.
maintenance. So.
I love it. I don't know if you need glasses.
What have we got? I watched a lady throw a tantrum in front of me at the supermarket yesterday. I could understand her frustration, but she was taking it out on the wrong person. And don't you think that there's been a lot of that since lockdown? That people were frustrated. They were stuck indoors. They were upset with the children. They were upset with the business. They were scared, anxious, and then any outlet, it just became, whoa.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think like, and I even wrote it down on my little notepad, that there's a lot of suppressed emotions. I love talking about emotions and saying what you want and acknowledging your emotions and processing them using tools like essential oils and things like that. But I think there is a lot of suppressed emotions, and I'm going to say it, in New Zealand. Yeah. I feel like I can say that. I am a Kiwi by blood. I am a Canadian by birth. So, there is a lot of suppressed emotions, and I feel like sometimes it comes out like at the wrong person, like the person at the grocery store.
I'm English by birth. I've been here 15 years, but I think that's probably true, because there's this Kiwi way of let's get on with it. We're all very easygoing. We're happy-go-lucky. But actually, there's a lot under the surface, and it doesn't take that much to push it out. But what we've been dealing with in the last, 2 or 3 months is actually quite a lot. So, I'm very guilty of sometimes taking things out on the wrong people, including my husband and children.
That was something else that came up where my friend said, her, so-and-so, who's not one to go and confrontation. Same with my husband, doesn't like confrontation. So he'll be more likely to tell me something than to tell the person. And so that's the other thing. It's like, who are you telling? And is that actually working for you? But I think as long as people learn from it. So one of my tips is like, what's the lesson here? What can I learn from this? So if the person who had the tantrum at the grocery store actually got in the car and was like, actually, that was a bit OTT. Why did that trigger me, or what's going on for me? So as long as they try to peel back the onion, and figure out why did I have such a freak out, and ideally apologize. I mean, personally, but as long as they look for the lesson.
You see, now there's a great comment here saying, put your big girl knickers on and get on with it. And yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you have to do that, but you do have to give people the opportunity, surely, to put it right and to make people happy. That's what we're in business for. That's what, I think really that's what we're put on earth for.
Well, everyone who has a business, we want the customer to come and tell us, not go and tell everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kathy says, go back to Pommyland. I wasn't complaining. I'm very happy here. And trust me, there's a lot more to complain about in the UK. I certainly wouldn't.
We've got kind of UK weather today.
Yeah, absolutely. Feels at home. So, dealing with disappointment and building resilience. Now, you've already discussed that in terms of kids as well, but obviously kids have disappointments all the time. And, one of the things that I've been dealing with is that school camp's been cancelled, lots of events have been cancelled, the Ames Games and stuff. So it's massive. I'm constantly dealing with that. And I think the issue really with my kids is and in a wider sense is that people have expectations, and so resilience is about working with people when they when life doesn't go as expected, and dealing with the different outcome, and dealing with disappointment. Again, you've got certain expectations, it doesn't go as you'd expected, and it's about how you pivot, twist, adapt. Would you agree?
Yeah, you just made me think of an acronym when you said about the Ames Games, because there are a lot of kids, teens as well, that have, like my niece, she was really big into rowing, and they had their massive, regatta canceled. There's so much disappointment for people. And when you said Ames, I was thinking, well, that's what we want to do. We don't want to just be like, hey, honey, get over it. So there is an element of put on your big girl knickers, which is definitely, and I love, I talk about dusting yourself off, definitely. But there's also the AIM. So acknowledge how you feel. Like, so with the kid being disappointed about Ames Games being canceled, like, honey, that is so sad that you're so upset about it. Like, allow them to sit in the sadness, not just trying to turn it into a smile. So A is acknowledge, I is identify how they feel and how they want to feel. And then the M, so it's aim, and the M is move towards that. And that's where it's like, what can I do to shift my mindset or to pivot my schedule, or if it's a business, pivot my business, to move towards how I actually want to be feeling instead of staying in it. You got to acknowledge it, but don't sit in it forever.
And that goes back to the whether you complain or not, because if you don't say anything and you don't put it right, you're not giving yourself or that business the opportunity to move towards getting it right and creating that customer connection. Yes. Cool. I haven't had any details of people who have had any disappointments this week. So obviously it's
good. No
clearly
disappointments.
been a great week for them. Just opening up about resilience for me. I had a fabulous start to the year. I love fireworks, and so on New Year's Eve I was down at the Embankment in London, watching the London fireworks. So big highlight for me of my life. Visited my whole family, all great. Came home
to NZ,
to New Zealand. And after via China, suddenly felt very, very ill, was rushed to hospital after collapsing on the floor, delirious. My first trip in an ambulance ever, with suspected coronavirus. It turned out to just be double flu, So
I've never heard of double flu.
So that was okay. I'm resilient. I can bounce back. I can get over that. A week later, my house was ruined by a burst water main outside. So I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to hunky firemen banging on the windows. They weren't hunky, but banging on the windows, waking us up, and a river literally coming through the house. It was tough. It was the day that both of my children started new schools. I really thought that this was going to be a great start to the year. It has thrown me a bit. So however resilient and however great at bouncing back I am, just the ongoing grind of dealing with that is hard. And so
then lockdown.
Just that little bit of lockdown and knowing that, it's not knowing when I'm going to see my family again, feeling a little bit helpless over here. It's been a tricky one, but it's not necessarily those great big things. I mean, they show you how strong you are, I think, but it's sometimes just those other little things that can just throw you for six. So I mean, obviously your experience in Christchurch was presumably similar. Because you heavily pregnant and dealing with an earthquake.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of my tips that I mentioned on the live stream, which is to reconnect with your resilience. So if you're feeling like currently don't know what's happening, people could lose their jobs. Like it's a full-on time for a lot of people. But I feel like when you're going through a hard time, whether it be, a divorce or something else, anything, to reflect on resilience in the past. When you think back to a time when you persevered or overcame something massive, whether it be something that you intentionally chose, like to run a marathon or to travel to, 6 countries in whatever, a month or whatever it is that you did. Yeah. So sometimes we choose challenge and sometimes challenge chooses us, So whatever it is, it's like reflect back on a time that you overcame. And that to reconnect with that can actually empower you to move forward and to tackle what's in front of you. And so for me, obviously the, people are like, wow, that's so amazing. You guys had like within 30 hours, your husband lost his job, massive earthquake, had a baby, no running water and all the things. That is big. And then we moved cities and started again. That is big. But for me, and I've had 3 back injuries, very, very serious, very, very painful, way more painful than my 3 natural childbirth experiences combined. But it's like those actually weren't the most challenging things for me. No. So Jonah losing his hair, way more challenging than the earthquake and the back injury. I can handle pain. I'm very, very physically robust. But went to see your own child, go through something. It's a different situation. I don't know if you guys can relate to this. Comment, please. Let us know if the reconnecting with resilience resonates with you, if you can actually go, yeah, that's a good tool, that's a strategy, and I can share that with my kids. Like if my kid's going through a hard time, you can be like, hey, hey, Sam, remember when, you had that thing happen when you had chicken pox and you couldn't go to kindy or whatever, and that was really hard for you, and then show them that they've persevered before and then they can definitely use those skills to get through. So I think we can use it for ourselves as well as kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, it seems such a huge thing, but you're just in coping mode and you're just getting through it. But otherwise, you just look back and think, okay, that was something that happened, and you just forget it. I haven't had natural childbirth. I was cut them out in the easy way. So go for the easy option.
Well, which for some people, again, is a lot of disappointment.
It actually was. I can make
lot of judgment.
I can make light of this now, but again, it was about expectation. And in my, I'd said to my midwife, here's my birth plan, and I've got a very high pain threshold, and I'm going to have no intervention.
I was the opposite. I'm like, do whatever you need to do, just whatevs. And it was all natural, but I wasn't like, don't give me drugs. I'm like, just whatever.
Yeah.
But you were like, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah. and I did feel really disappointed. And I think that sometimes that's the issue. Resilience is things that, is dealing with things that happen to you that are not the way that you expected, or that just occur, bad things. So, I've experienced redundancy 3 times, and I'd completely forgotten about it, really, except that, people going through it now, they're saying, this is the end of my world. My job is everything. I'm so, I'm lost. It is scary, but if you can put tools in place to say, well, I've got over bad things in the past, how am I going to move forward? That M in AIM, in terms of moving, is where you have to go.
You brought up something really good, which is the reminding. So like often now things will happen like the redundancy, and it can bring up emotions. And if people haven't processed their journey, like whether it be that they had a Caesar and they didn't want to, and they have guilt and shame or disappointment around it, and then their friend has a Caesar, it can bring up cesarean C-section. It can bring up emotions for people. So that's why I'm so big on acknowledging how you feel, processing how you feel, and then moving on from there, rather than just shoving it down in a box, which I think is what a lot of people tend to do because it feels easier.
Yes. Yeah. And clearly gratitude's a huge thing. And I do try to reframe things and say, well, yeah, absolutely, it wasn't what I wanted, but look at the result, look at the good things that have come out of this. So that's all good. So you get to have your hair done again. So,
exactly. Exactly.
So here's a fun thing for everybody. So both Nat and I love music and dancing. So,
definitely. Yeah.
I write, and I'm really big on words, and so I listen to the lyrics of songs, whereas some people clearly don't. They just like the tune. So when I'm feeling a bit down, or I need to up my resilience, then I have songs that I really like.
Nice.
So I would really love it if people would give some comments as to songs that help to boost them. So
what's one of yours?
Well, okay, so I really like Tub Thumping.
I have no idea what that is.
Chumbawamba. So you do know it.
Can you?
I get knocked down.
Oh yeah.
You're never going to keep me down.
Yeah.
And I have to do those actions even if I'm in the car.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The kids love that.
The kids are very embarrassed by it, but there you go. I also like Keep On Moving by Five. Which always cheers me up.
I don't know what that is, but is that "And Nothing Gonna Get Me Down"?
No, it's you're not gonna. They're gonna all turn off if I'm singing.
Okay.
You do. I'm sorry about this, guys. No, it's "Get On Up When You're Down."
Oh yeah,
baby, take a good look.
You love the actions.
I do love the actions. That's very important. I don't love "Don't Stop Believing," but I acknowledge that lots of people find that very motivational.
I like Fight Song. I love that song. Yeah, which is not Jessie J, which I thought it was. But you corrected me. It's Rachel somebody. And then what's the other one that I like? What is the other one that I like? I don't know, but every time my kids and I get in the car, that it always comes up like, you gotta have high hopes, that one?
Yeah.
And I always do this like high hopes, and then like, so I'm driving, and every time and me and the kids are all going like high hopes. It's so funny. I love songs. I love music. I mean, I'm the person that my kids' friends are like, why is your mom always singing? And I'm like, oh, am I? And they're like, yeah, like all the time. I'm like, oh, like I'm just always singing out loud.
Yeah.
And but one of the things I want to highlight to people is really take note when you are singing just randomly, start listening to the lyrics, because I'm a little bit woo-woo if you don't know. And so when you start singing a song, listen to the lyrics and go, isn't that interesting? Because it probably is a lesson or something that you need to hear at that moment, I think.
Absolutely.
Personally.
And the other one that I don't play very often, but which comes on the radio and it always makes me feel better, is Desiree doing You Gotta Be, you gotta be strong,
rich,
you gotta be,
or whatever.
I don't think she mentioned
calm.
Money. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you've got to stay together.
You gotta be rich.
You gotta be rich, apparently. I don't know that lyric, but in your head.
I know, calm together. Yes, I know that song.
Sarah, I love that song as well. Babysitter's Circus.
I don't know what that is.
Everything's going to be all right. That is fantastic. It's I saw them actually perform that at a festival. I'm very big on events, and love festivals, love music, love dancing. We saw that at a festival a long time ago, so it was a really big highlight. So we should maybe put together a little playlist.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to play songs during Facebook Lives. It cuts them off, so that's fine. You're allowed. So
that's why you have to tolerate our singing. So sorry about that. So
I'll tell you guys a really quick story. A few weeks ago, I did a story about you are the CEO of your own pie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. The message is really you are the CEO of your own life, but it's a story about going to the bakery. Here's another story. I've got 3 stories at the same bakery. It's interesting. Here's another story at the bakery. So this has probably happened to you. You go in, you go, yeah, can I get 3 buttered chicken pies? You get outside or you sit down at the table. One of your kids takes a bite and it's like, oh, it's steak and cheese. So they gave you the wrong pie. So this happened with me and my kids. We're outside the bakery. We're still there, but we're outside. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, Mom, you're not going to. And I'm like, have you met me? That's literally what I say to them. Have you met me? Of course I am. But I'm not going to go in and have a ranty tanty. I'm going to go in and be like, hey, you know what? We ordered butter chicken, but you guys gave us steak and cheese instead. So we're giving them an opportunity. And they're like, oh my gosh, so sorry. We'll totally swap that for you. You can keep the steak and cheese. And here's the butter chicken. Like, love it. And so the difference there is, are you going to be empowered and do something about it in a nice, positive, polite way? Or are you going to go in there and have a freak out? Yeah. Or are you going to walk away and be disgruntled and disappointed and tell everyone about it?
Yeah. And let it affect your day.
Yeah.
And say, no. So what else is going to go wrong? Have you ever met people
looking for the problems
that say, oh, I'm just waiting for something else to go wrong.
Yeah.
What next?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the wrong pie is going to affect their whole life.
And that's the whole thing about it. You are the CEO of your own pie. Do not let it ruin your day. You can always go back tomorrow.
I know. Well, what about the Elon Musk space launch? I mean, I can only imagine how disappointed those astronauts must have been when they're sitting there, they're strapped in, they're waiting. Like, there's literally the countdown. They've said their goodbyes, and then, okay. Not going to happen today. I mean, it must be. It's bad enough when you're delayed, with a flight. So, what were those guys thinking as they came back out again?
But I think that's the main thing: is like big or small, right? Whether it be a rocket ship or like a pie, it's the way that you respond, and that can help you build your resilience and to move forward with positivity. I mean, it's going to be an interesting time going forward with the economy. It's going to be interesting. And we are going to have to shift our mindset and our business models and all the things. But I think it's going to be, there's going to be some positives that come out of it.
I think it's very sad for people who've got plans, who were going to travel overseas or, who were going to have a big birthday or whatever, because it hasn't happened. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It doesn't, I think we just need to have that same flexibility in our outlook. Has anybody missed out on anything major that, not a sob story? But
so the person that commented at the moment, I'm going through what next? Do you mean you're kind of going through that like, oh gosh, like what is the next bad thing that's going to happen? Or do you mean like, what am I going to do next? Like you're looking for your next direction or something? let us know.
Yeah. I mean, lots of people are looking at this as full of opportunities. And is, you know, the way that you deal with disappointment is that you either say, right, it didn't work, I never get what I want, I'm just going to have to find something else, or you can frame it in a, okay, well, that didn't work, okay, out of the way, what am I going to do next? What's the opportunity? How can I reframe
and that's classic
that?
Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Really, that response. But I think we have to acknowledge, and I was on a call a few weeks ago, maybe it was last week, and they were talking about, while some people have a very growth mindset about it, like me, but again, I'm in a great situation. So I'm not in that situation where I'm getting made redundant or anything. But I think at the same time, we have to be empathetic and understanding, and not be, because some people can get offended by my enthusiasm or whatever, someone else's enthusiasm or optimism, but everyone's in a very different colored boat. We're all in the same ocean or whatever, but we have different size boats. Like some are in catamarans and some are in lasers, and I don't know anything else about boats, but you know what I mean? And so it's not the same for everyone, but I feel like as much as possible, if we can have a growth mindset, but acknowledging everyone's situation is different. Yeah.
I mean, I personally think that the best thing that's come out of this whole scenario has been the message, be kind.
Yeah.
And it's not just to other people, but kind to yourself as well, and just to have a bit of give and a bit of leeway. Compassion. And absolutely, just it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. It's very easy for me to feel overwhelmed with only having half a house, and Renee's commented and saying not building your house this year now. So again, you were so looking forward to it. Your expectation was that it would be there, and I'm sure you could visualize being in there. It's dealing with disappointment, and I've dealt with disappointment in myself. I think that's when you're beating yourself up, that's really hard to overcome. So that's why my message, what my takeaway from this has been to be kind, and just to be a little bit more bit more helpful to myself, and think of coping strategies.
I mean, I think, like you mentioned something before, is like there's always somebody worse off. And that is true. And that is a very good strategy. However, I also feel like we can allow ourselves to feel sad. Like Renee with the house, it's like she could easily be like, well, some people have no house. But it's like, but true that. But it's actually okay, to be like, I'm actually really pissed about this, or I'm actually super sad. Like, I feel like it's an important stage, which I'm sure she's done. So what are the others?
Oh, yes. So Sarah's saying that she missed out on a trip to Japan with her 11-year-old. It doesn't mean it will never happen. And because the whole world is going through it, it's not as disappointing. We are safe and healthy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And, I've got the same with my 11-year-old Sarah, and having to say, these things that you're looking forward to are unlikely to happen now, realistically. And I don't know when they are going to happen again. So, have you had tournaments and things cancelled? I know.
Well, Jonah's he's in dance and drama, so the NYTC, which is a young theater company in New Zealand, and they had to push back their performance. So it's like little things like that, but nothing too major. Someone here is saying a saying that I use often: where there's a no, there's a bigger yes waiting around the corner. I agree. I can't see your name because you're in a private group, but. Nice. Yeah,
I think that's true. And so, and a long time ago, I was given an essay topic at school a very long time ago, saying nothing is ever as good or as bad as you think. How would you interpret that?
Well, there's a lot to say. Could write a whole essay about it.
Absolutely. And I did. But I mean, I think there is always an upside. It's just sometimes very difficult to see it when you're sort of in the depths of despair.
Well, look at what Karen Evans just wrote. Unsure about going to the UK when her first grandchild is born, but at the same time, right? It's this, right? Same time feeling blessed to become a grandparent. So
absolutely. And you know what they're like when they're newly born, Karen. Don't really do anything. So it's going to be far more fun when they're actually, aware and alert. Usually. So it'll be a great trip when it actually happens.
Yeah, my kids are saying to me, when are we going to Canada? I'm like, because we've never They've never even been to Canada.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, well, obviously not until 2021 at the soonest. But you know, all in good time, hopefully.
Yeah. And how excited are we all going to be when we're able to do those things? And I think we really will make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we'll also I'm being more discerning, you know, with my, I don't travel a lot and I don't like to travel a lot. But I actually am a bit of a homebody. Like I like being at home, but I'm definitely going to be more discerning. I don't know about you guys. Like, so with resilience, it's also who you surrounding yourself with. You know, 2 weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I did an exercise and it was, what are you going to do? What are you going to ditch? And what are you going to delegate from your life to help you create the life that you actually want now that we're going into this new normal? What does your new normal look like? And it was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to ditch? What are you going to delegate? And sometimes it's certain relationships, you know, it's certain people, or it's certain tasks or duties or obligations that you had before. I feel like part of building resilience is actually being empowered about how you spend your valuable time, energy, and money.
Yes. And recognizing that opportunities are opportunities, but they're there if you want to take them. And it's, you know, it doesn't have to be an immediate yes. It doesn't have to be a jump in. It can just be, well, actually, do I want to do this now? So I've been very guilty of just jumping into things and saying, yes, 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 yes. So, because I'm a bit of an events junkie, used to go out all the time, used to, you know.
You had your finger on the pulse. I'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are the events coming up?
Yeah, so, but actually, I do think that is a good opportunity for people. I think that they're at the moment, you know, workshops and live events actually are going to be growing and are going to become more popular because people do want to connect in person again. So, you know, there's a certain number of people who are still very scared, and that's absolutely fine. But there's definitely an appetite for people to get together and connect in person.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Carin, for joining me today.
Well, it's been fun sitting here on the bench. So I'm usually on the other side of the screen.
And we've got Steph saying her eldest daughter is very unlikely to be able to come to her only sibling's wedding as she's living in New York City. I know there's going to be a lot of kind of missed opportunities as such, people not being able to travel to see loved ones, etc. So, you know, it is hard. And I think that aim, you know, acknowledge how you feel. That's really important. And then how do you want to feel? So how do you intend to feel? And then moving towards it. Awesome. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us. And I hope that was helpful. Go ahead and tag any friends in a comment if you feel like there's someone in your life who, you know, might have something to contribute to the conversation, or maybe needs to hear some of the messages that we covered today.
Find a song that's going to boost you and help you to be more resilient.
Totally.
Yeah. And tell us what it is.
Hi. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.
See you.